Hello, welcome to a very special episode of Kothon. And joining me today are two highly respected voices on Indian politics and governance. One is Jawhar Sircar and the other Paranjoy Guha Thakurta. Jawhar Sircar is a former senior civil servant, an ex Rajya Sabha MP, and a well known public intellectual. He resigned from the Rajya Sabha in 2024, well before the completion of his term. He is based in Kolkata. And Paranjoy Guha Thakurta is a veteran journalist, author, and editor. His latest book, A Controversial Judge, co-authored with A.K. Das, has been widely discussed. And I read this book recently. Uh, Now, the assembly elections in West Bengal have just concluded. And after the election, we have seen a large scale violence. The large scale violence have gripped the state. So today, in next 35 to 40 minutes, we are going to discuss the political situation, the current political situation in Bengal, as well as actually what led to this situation. And I'm very privileged that both the Sabine persons they agreed to join me in this discussion in a very short notice. So first, may I request Jawhar Sircar to give us a sense of the present situation prevailing in Bengal before I go to this to Paranjoy about the political situation, about the election results, and etc. But first, I would like to know from Jawhar Sircar about the present situation at the moment, what is happening in Bengal.
If you refer to the post-poll situation as a present situation, I have been predicting for over a month that since neither party is going to concede defeat, both parties are on extreme high mode. There would be flare-ups, violence. There would be violence in Bengal positively. Positively because Bengal has this culture of post-poll violence. Poll violence results, and they take it as an occasion. Whichever is the winning party takes it as an occasion to settle scores. Now, Bengal has been completed 2 days ago. There has not been violence of the scale that I had predicted or feared, because tomorrow is going to be the day after tomorrow is the swearing in ceremony. So, and they will hold their horses till then. There are central forces in Bengal, so therefore, there's a lot of caution, because central forces will also be blamed if the situation goes out of hand. So that is as far as post-poll excitement, violence, retribution is concerned. But prior to the poll, which led to this debacle of Mamata Banerjee and this thing, was a process that was very, very visible. The writing on the wall was in bold letters. Bengal had been turned into some sort of a very unstable state where extortionists, I won't use the word gangsters, but I'll use the word extortionists, I'll use the word cut money specialist or sophisticated cut money specialist. Nothing moved without money. Now, I wouldn't be childish to say that this is something peculiar to Bengal. It happens in all states. But Bengal was hypersensitive to it because it didn't have the culture of this from 1947. There was a popular saying that North India, you give money and you get the job done. in certain parts of India, like Bihar, you give the money, they won't do the job, they'll ask for it again. And in Bengal, they will neither take money nor do any job. So that was the level of, what shall I say? And the middle class was completely shocked to see the level of political morality, extortions, this and that. Now, Mamata Banerjee was riding a tiger's back. She had overthrown the left through a grassroots cadre. The Congress could never overthrow because the Congress never had a grassroots cadre to fight the grassroots cadre of the CPIM. So Mamata Banerjee made out a grassroots cadre from 1, 2, 3, 4 by getting clubs and clubs and societies and Durga Puja committees and others into some sort of a field level organization with young men who were willing to fight for her. Well, once she came to power, these elements, along with certain other local toughs, joined her party, which she welcomed because she had to take on the left even after she came to power. But these elements turned rogue. They turned rogue. And she looked the other way. In fact, areas were divided between this leader, the councillor would look after this area, the MLA would look after another area, the district Trinamool Congress president would look after another area, the chairman of the municipality would look after another area, and there'd be intra-TMC squabbles about corruption. Now, this had reached a tremendously bad proportion, and the first major outbreak was in 2022 when the education minister was raided and mountains of cash were found in his house. It was one of those obscene sights. I happened to protest because I'm not a party member. I'm just a visiting professor. So I protested, and immediately there was a hue and cry against me rather than against corruption. This is the starting point. And from there onwards, I found that the party is more interested while it is interested in retaining power, it is more interested in letting these things continue. So this, I could not take it anymore, and in 2022, I resigned with a very elaborately long letter where I listed out that unless you understand the ground realities, you will be in a terrible soup. You will be in a terrible soup. That letter did not, it's public. It's very public knowledge about what I listed, that your people are being viewed as goons, your people are committing depredations on the people, people have a negative image of you. For God's sake, while people appreciate you to be a secular party, you can't hold that one badge against everything. So that did not have any effect, and I'm sorry that timely warning was not taken over. I think Paranjoy can elaborate further.
No,
Well,
so far, actually, my question to Paranjoy Guha Thakurta is that before the election or during the election, I think during the election also, you travel to various places in Bengal, is it? Did you visit various
No, no.
places?
Paresh Babu, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion. I did not really travel all over Bengal. Bengal, if you look from Darjeeling to Gangasagar, is quite a long distance. I was stationed out of Kolkata, but I spoke to several people who had traveled the state. And whereas one could sense that there was strong anti-incumbency sentiments against the Trinamool Congress government, led by Mamata Banerjee. Honestly, I did not expect that there would be such a verdict wherein more than two-thirds of the 294 seats in the state assembly would be won by the Bharatiya Janata Party, and less than one-third of the seats would be won by the Trinamool Congress, with the other parties getting a few seats here and there. Now, why? I thought that, and this is where I want to add to what Jawhar Sircar has said, the SIR, the Special Intensive Revision. To me, what happened in Bengal is unprecedented and unique in this country, in the electoral history of this country. Yes, we had a special intensive revision in Bihar earlier. But what was different about Bengal? One, the sheer scale of the deletion of the votes. If you look at the voter roll that was there 5 years ago and what the voter roll was there when the elections took place, the difference was about 91 lakhs, roughly 12% of the total electorate. What was even more unique was that 27 lakh voters, or people who said we are voters, had formally complained and said, please have a judicial process. And in the Election Commission's records, they were shown as people whose whether they have the right to vote or not is under adjudication. That number, then there were people added to that, and the final number came to somewhere in the region of 35 lakhs. Two things have never happened before. And this happened at the directions of the Supreme Court of India. First, you never have a precedent in any part of India where judicial officers, in the case of Bengal, from Orissa and from Jharkhand, who were asked to come to supervise the whole adjudication process to determine who is a voter and who is not a voter. Number two, the way in which the so-called logical discrepancies, this is a term used by the Election Commission to compare the voter roll of 2026 to the voter roll that existed 24 years ago in 2002. And this was unprecedented. The names, whether somebody should be MD or Mohammed, somebody should be SIRCAR or SARCAR, somebody should be Chatterjee or Chattopadhyay. I can go on and on. The short point is, what is the outcome? The outcome is that out of the 294 assembly constituencies, in half of them, the victory margin of whoever has won, it could be Trinamool, it could be BJP, it could be anybody, the margin of victory is lower than the number of names of deleted. So this is something that has never happened. So in my opinion, a very, very important reason, perhaps in my opinion, the single biggest reason for the stunning defeat of the Trinamool Congress in Bengal was the SIR. Then too, for the first time, we are seeing the former chief minister saying, I'm not going to resign, I'm going to protest. And now she says, I'm going to go to court and all that. But she says in 100 out of the 294 constituencies, she believes, Mamata Banerjee is of the view that the votes were looted. Exact word she uses, looted. What will happen? What will be proven in a court of law? What will happen? Only time can tell. Another thing, it's the first time, I think, in the history of this country, we've had the Supreme Court of India, a bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, and also including Joymallo Bakshi, Justice, who happens to be a Bengali, saying something which has been, in my opinion, unprecedented and to my mind also shocking. Says that if you're not eligible to vote in this election because your name is in that list of 27 lakh people whose the judicial adjudication process is not complete, so what? If your name is there, you can vote in the next election. I mean, to me, this is amazing. Voting right, the right to vote, in my opinion, even if it is not under Article 19 of the Constitution of India as a fundamental right, for all intents and purposes, it is a right and that every citizen of this country holds very dear to her or his heart. Even Justice Joymallo Bakshi said there is an emotional aspect. So all these things added to the entire atmosphere. And in my opinion, the post-poll violence. People were saying that, look how peacefully the elections were conducted. 2.5 lakh personnel of the Central Armed Police Forces, like the Central Reserve Force, like the Border Security Force, like the Central Industrial Security Force, etc., etc. This is again unprecedented. Many of us were apprehensive that there would be violence. It didn't happen to that extent during the elections, but we are seeing it taking place now. And this is most unfortunate. And to my mind, I'm just adding one more point to what Jawhar Sircar has said. He's somebody I've known for many years. I've spoken to him for a long time. These anti-incumbency sentiments are real. Whether it is corruption, whether it is crimes against women, the terrible murder and rape of a young woman doctor at the RG Kar hospital, the atrocities on women in Sandesh Khali by supporters of the Trinamool Congress. We thought that despite these incidents, that by and large, the women of Bengal would stay with Mamata Banerjee and the Trinamool Congress. That didn't happen. The other thing that we presumed, that some of us who were trying to understand the politics, we were wrong. We thought the Muslim vote, and Muslims comprise of more than 27% of the total population of the state, if you go by the census that was conducted in 2011, and they are focused in certain particular areas and certain particular districts like Murshidabad, like Malda, like Uttar Dinajpur, and so on and so forth. So thought that the Muslim vote would get consolidated, but that did not happen. So what has happened is, whether it be the Muslim vote, whether it be the women vote, whether it be the votes, I say that the votes that the left parties got, the vote that the Congress parties got, all of these combined to weaken the Trinamool Congress and indirectly helped the Bharatiya Janata Party. As a result of it, for the first time, the BJP is going to be formally in power in Bengal. It's never happened before. And here is something I wish, and I hope I'm wrong. West Bengal had in the 40s a history of communal violence. The 40s saw the kind of Hindu-Muslim riots which very few parts of India and the world have seen. Perhaps Punjab had seen. We know what happened in the 40s in Bengal, the great Calcutta killings. We know Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. He was fasting in Beleghata when Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was talking about the tryst with destiny. Right through the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the first decade of the new millennium, we saw Hindu-Muslim relations relatively peaceful, relatively calm. It's not that there were no tension, but it was relatively calm. I sincerely hope that we do not regress 80 years. I mean, these are my comments. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer you.
Well, how do I see the situation? One is that, as Jawhar Sircar was telling us, that there's almost misrule in Bengal, misrule. So lack of governance. So that is one side. Then the other side is that the SIR and the way these elections were conducted in Bengal. The third thing is what is now going to happen. Now, my question to Jawhar Sircar is that we understand, and you explained it everything in your actually resignation letter that was discussed actually when you were here in Assam last year. I discussed these things with you, and you explained it elaborately. Why you resigned from the Trinamool Congress? Why you resigned from the from your Rajya Sabha seat? The question is, the one aspect is the misrule,
On our
corruption,
connection,
corruption, and all those things. But how do you see these
Yes.
elections? How these elections were conducted? What is your actually take on the elections?
I would, Paranjoy has covered the other non-corruption issues, non-governance issues very well through Sir. Now, SIR is an instrument which has been devised somewhere, not in the Election Commission. Now, how can I say that with so much confidence? I can say that because I worked in the bureaucracy for 40 years. I worked as CEO under the Election Commission for many years. I'm aware of the signature and style of the bureaucracy and the Nirvachan Sadan. This is a malicious piece of document prepared by strategic takeover specialists, highly paid corporate strategic takeover specialists, along with highly paid lawyers by some corporate organization. Maybe paid by this government, we won't know. Maybe paid by the party, we won't know. And the document was handed over to the CEC to implement. I'll tell you why. In the last 75 years, revisions have been conducted again and again and again. We have had good chief election commissioners, we have average chief election commissioners. We have had iconic chief election commissioners like Sukumar Sen, like, the lady judge, I can't remember her name, then TNC. Years, nobody thought of SIR. It is not covered under the law. I'm saying you again and again, it's not covered under the law. It's under extraordinary powers of the commission. So some lawyer must have advised कि आपके पास वो ताकत है. And it is done in a booby trap manner. How would the Muslims be made to suffer by going through excessive deletions? Obviously, the AI computer must have been fed Muslim names. Otherwise, how will a computer recognize? So you will not open the source code of the computer. You will not tell us what methodology the computer used, but you will go on flashing names. Number one. Number two, how will the computer know that the TMC lost in so many constituencies last time? And so by say 10,000, by 20,000 last time, TMC won by 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 last time. So this time the deletion has to be where they won by 10,000, the deletion has to be 20. Where they won by 20,000, deletion has to be 40. AI does what you command. So I keep saying, and I've kept saying even when the process was going on, that this is a malified process worked out by somebody in the corporate sector. Problem is, Mamata Banerjee was on election mode. Our advice to her would be the day you had certain days when you crossed the line of no return. Number one day was 20th of January. 21st of January, when the Election Commission swore that it would not allow citizenship to come in the way. It made an oath, but it reneged on the oath. Number two, when it went on slashing names through what is called mapping, and ultimately 91 lakh names were slashed out. So that's the second point of no return. Third is, on the 20th of February, the Supreme Court took the unprecedented, as Paranjoy has said, unprecedented decision of handing over executive powers of the ERO to judges. At that point of time, you could have said that, tell me, my lords, why have you done it and where on earth has this been done and will this be done in other states? Unless you tell me, I won't participate. Because you see, she could see the trap coming in her way, but her advisors and her hubris were such that she said, Jane do, we'll still win. Then came the disastrous order. At the cost of contempt of court, I am saying in your channel, the disastrous order of destroying Section 24 of the Representation of People Act. Destroying Section 24 of the Representation of People Act. The Representation of People Act, Section 24 says that all applications for inclusions and deletions, this is not under adjudication. Under adjudication, I've already told you. This is that other doubtful cases or appealed cases will distinguish. Appealed cases under Section 24 of the RP Act says in very simple language that the district election officer shall dispose of them. As district election officers, we have taken them in tons, disposed them in tons, because there are certain modes of working. How could you destroy Section 24 under Article 142, the supreme powers of the Supreme Court, without saying what was criminally wrong in Section 24? First, you have to, before you use your Brahmastra, you must say that the person I am attacking is worthy of Brahmastra. So you are indirectly saying that the entire executive of Bengal is so worthless, so hopeless, so criminal, so useless that I am using Brahmastra. So you have not given that in writing. That is the point when I advise that you please leave the battlefield. We had also advised, we remember, RJD, the Brahmastras are being used against you, unfair means are being taken, leave the battlefield. Her supporters argued with me, they are all known to me, argued with me, do you want us to hand over the state to the BJP in a silver platter? I said, yes. I want you to hand over because you will have the higher moral ground. What you have done by refusing to get out of the stream, that you have handed over the state to the BJP in a golden platter now. Now you have no legitimacy to ask. The point of argument I'm having with great leftists and liberals is that you never objected at the right time. You never walked out at the right time. You never made out a case at the right time. After going through all the machinations of the ECI and, let us say, the indulgence of the court, you can't now come out and say in the 32nd minute you had pushed me. In the 34th minute you had kicked one of my players. You can't do that now, not at the end. When your player was kicked in the groin on the 34th minute, you should have walked out and said either you show the yellow card, red card, or I will not play. You allowed all these things to take place. And now you come back and say, I don't accept the result. So you see, there's a public, what is called a public mahal, an atmosphere where people believe that you are a bad player. Now you're a bad player, you're making a joke of yourself, etc. But at every step when this corporate raiding mechanism was in operation, you were not up to it. Your political acumen was not functioning. Or I know her well enough. Her political instinct is very sharp. The stupid advisors around her told her, let us go ahead. Now you can't turn back. Factors we have discussed, one is Sir's nefarious role, absolutely, I would put it almost criminal role, indulgently criminal role in eliminating exactly those numbers that are required. They are all available on record. We can't sort of dispute it. 100 seats have been lost because the deletion was planned by this criminal computer called Sir in such a manner that those margins were all destroyed. Okay. Other thing, two things played also, and we cannot deny these two things. The young in Bengal voted largely in favor of BJP. Largely in favor of BJP. The educated and the uneducated. The educated voted because there is no job for them. Number one, and educated young men of 22 were 10 when Modi came to power. For 12 years, they are subject to propaganda, brainwashing. Propaganda and brainwashing. So all that hundreds and thousands of crores of propaganda and brainwashing would be useless if at least some people were not converted. At debates, I have found that every time some BJP person made a stupid statement, young men in the crowd would get up and clap. I have seen it for myself. So the young, educated Bengal voters, Bengalis, others, we have a lot of other population also, voted decisively in favor of this thing. We can't calibrate it under the present rules. We can only do dipstick study. And the young, uneducated voters who were getting a raw side of the deal, when they were going in motorbikes till late night delivering Swiggy and Zomato and others, would see that a young man of their age who had joined Trinamool 5 years ago had moved from a jhuggi jhopdi, from a slum, and made a 4-story house, 3-story house. So there were this young factor playing a big role. Nobody is talking about the young factor because you can't empirically substantiate. You can only go in for, what shall I say, suppositions from whatever one has seen. Woman on 14th August night, 14th August 2024 night, when the woman of Calcutta, woman of Bengal came out in millions to protest on the Arjikar case the night before Independence Day. I saw more women than I've seen ever before. And I've seen what we call low-income group women. These low-income group women are the beneficiaries of Mamta schemes. I knew that day that the Rubicon had been crossed, that you can't give them Lokhit Bhandar and this and that and buy them back. So large section of the women also voted against her for various reasons. And that day I saw it in front of me. I was surprised. I mean, I thought I would meet only this, fashionable ladies who were up for protest. No. It consisted of housewives, it consisted of grandmother, the daughter and the granddaughter, all standing together in unison. That is the day my heart completely broke down and I resigned the next day. But anyway, so the woman also played a big factor in it. Last of all, we must mention that a fear factor played a lot of role in Bengal's elections all through in keeping back, say, about 5% of the voters home. They say we were not allowed to vote and all that. Much of it is bullshit. They didn't go to vote because for fear agar jhamela ho jaye. This 5 to 7% extra voter, which consists of better off classes, they came out because the central forces had declared central rule. Central rule, which explains why 34 lakh additional people voted despite a 90 lakh slash in the voters list. After you slash the voters list by 91 lakhs, whatever remains, that is 6.8, as a percentage of voting up, chodiye, just go by solid numbers. The solid number is 24 lakh people voted additional than last year, when you had 90 lakhs more. So we had more people voting thanks to, let us say, the central forces, if you put it that way. You had the youth voting against Mamata Banerjee. I'm dead sure about that. In fact, Mahua and I and others have gone on record and about 6 months, 1 year ago, whenever we are seeing this, and we've discussed it, I mean, among liberals. Ye kya ho raha? Why is it that the youth are all turning that way? Youth are turning that way. The more prosperous youth are turning that way because of sheer propaganda and sheer joblessness, let's put it, lesser prospect than their own classmates who have done better elsewhere. That sheer complex. And the vast majority of middle or lower middle class youth who have to do odd jobs to keep going, they are angry at the sudden wealth of the Trinamool cadres. So all put together, this has happened. Now, the point that we need to bother about is that you may have got the state. You may have a large emotional support that always happens after a state is captured, if I put it. There's a large emotional, many fence sitters, many closet opponents are saying, itna acha kabhi nahi hua. The usual herd mentality. Question is, Bengal has a distinctly different culture. So does Assam, so does Odisha. Bengal has an aggressively different culture from the Hindi heartland. Will you accept 100% of Hindi, Hindu? That's the point to be seen. In Assam, they have aligned themselves with Hindi, Hindutva, because the concerns are existential. The concerns are really existential. So they have this alignment helps them. But in Bengal, I would like to see what happens next.
Now, I have actually, I'll come to Paranjoy. The question is, you have actually, there's a complex kind of a situation, in my understanding. One is the SIR process, which you have said, and which is something very, very actually revealing and very, it's shocking also. You say that, okay, it must not have been actually come from the election commission. It must have
I've
come
given in
from
writing the area.
from outside agencies. This is something revealing, shocking. That's one part of it. Now the other part of it is the all the ill doings of the Trinamool Congress. Now, thing is that if there would not have been SIR, so who would have won this election?
That has been very interesting because I feel, it is my feeling, and my friends in the left are wild at me for nursing this feeling. I feel that the BJP will still have an edge. You know, like the 1972 elections after the Bangladesh war, when Indira Gandhi was goddess, that election they rigged badly. And after the election, the experts said, yeah, if you did not rig also, you'd win. If you did not rig also, you'd win. This election was something like that. The atmosphere was very much against it. Most people outside of West Bengal are bemoaning more than Bengal. We are also very, very worried because they viewed Mamata Banerjee as a last fortress against fascism. And she has fallen, and therefore anybody who speaks against Mamata Banerjee is a criminal. Now, that is a very simplistic view because you are living in Bangalore, you're living in Delhi, and you can go on passing comments. People who live here know what the rule is. So we'll have to sum up that by this saying that the edge was in favor of the BJP. I have never seen such amount of ground level middle class support. I dismissed it all as Brahmanism. I have to use the word Brahmanical uprising. I have dismissed it all as casteism, Manuvadi. But while dismissing, I still have my doubt whether it was a wave of upper class votes or not. They were still visible. So even if Sir had been very fair, election had been very fair, the edge was still in favor of BJP. They may not have swept.
That's a very interesting observation. Now I come to Paranjoy. Now, this morning when I first contacted you, I spoke to you, you were telling me, Paresh Babu, it's a very, very depressing situation. Now, Jawhar has said that actually this Bengal, Assam case, okay, I'll not go into the details of Assam's case. By and large, maybe Jawhar is correct. But so far Bengal is concerned, he said that this Hindi domination, the Bengalis, they are not going to accept this Hindi domination. So where Jawhar has actually ended, I want you to continue.
Okay. I agree with much of what Jawhar has said. I don't agree with everything that he has said. You know, all of us become more intelligent by hindsight. After everything has happened, we say, oh, we should have done it. as I said right at the very beginning, I'm not surprised that the BJP has won. I'm surprised by the scale of the victory. More than two-thirds of the 294 assembly constituencies have won by candidates belonging to the BJP. Now, that to me would not have happened if it had not been for the SIR. I'm very, very convinced about that. That's only one point. But there are many other points I want to say. Jawhar makes a comparison with a football match and a soccer match, and then you should have stopped the referee, and he said either you penalize that particular player or we are not going to fight. That's easier said than done. This issue of boycotting elections, whether it by the Trinamool Congress or by the Congress Party or by any of the opposition parties, has been talked about. It's been years and years and years. Will it happen? I don't know, because let's accept it. The Congress-led United Democratic Front is in power in Kerala. We know that Vijay's party is the biggest party in Tamil Nadu. We know what has happened in Jharkhand. So it's not so simple. It's a little more complicated, but I want to say a few other things. And I'm going to tell you why I'm depressed. And that has got a lot to do with the way the Supreme Court has worked. That's the main reason for my depression. But let me just say, yeah, I agree with him. Now, this high turnout, how did it help the BJP? Jawhar has already explained. I think the Trinamool was overconfident. Of course, it was overconfident. We are becoming more intelligent by hindsight. I have become more intelligent by hindsight. Therefore, the Trinamool was overconfident. If Mamata Banerjee, if her nephew Abhishek, they thought that they could take on the might of the entire state of India, not just the Election Commission, the Union Home Ministry, all the central armed police forces, and the Supreme Court of India. I think today they realize that they had perhaps taken on more. The combined force of all these institutions, however strong your government in West Bengal is, and you've been in power for 15 years. Now, did she realize what was happening? Yes, but maybe it was hubris. Maybe it was overconfidence. You remember when the Enforcement Directorate and other law enforcing agencies had raided the offices and the homes of the individuals associated with IPAC, Indian Political Action Committee. She went in. The chief minister went to this place where the raid was taking place and said, these hard disks do not belong to you, ED. These belong to me, the party, because this has got data. We know that IPAC was doing a lot of election-related data. Remember, Mamata Banerjee herself appeared before the Supreme Court. So maybe she thought she'd make it. And now let's see what happens in all these 100 constituencies where she has alleged that there was rigging or there was manipulation or there was some malpractices or all of these. Now, on this whole factor, let me be very, very clear. Rigging, whether in Bengal or anywhere else, didn't start today. It's got a very, very old lineage. The opponents of the Communist Party of India, Marxists on the left front, they were saying they indulge in scientific rigging, boycott karchubi. What was it? You didn't let your political opponents come and vote. In the Panchayat elections, they couldn't even place their nomination. And then they said Mamata Banerjee learned all the tricks of the trade from the CPIM, and she's actually more left than the left. These are her language. And 1/3 of the people in the Panchayat elections, they couldn't even, they were elected unopposed. Sheer scale of the manipulation of the voter rolls and the way the election processes were conducted was unprecedented. I mean, what happened in the Panchayat elections in Bengal during CPM rule or during Trinamool rule pales into insignificance when we look at what happened in the last few weeks. And I think that is what makes me depressed. But I want to make two other comments. Okay, if anti-incumbency was very strong in Bengal, and I accept there was reason for good anti-incumbency, as Jawhar has rightly pointed out, whether it be corruption, whether it be atrocities against women, whether it be the kind of, I mean, he just mentioned about how the state education minister was jailed. He was caught with huge amounts of money. He and his a woman associate of his. Be that as it may, the question I have asked is different. Why didn't anti-incumbency work in Maharashtra? Why did it not work in Bihar? And this is where is what is making me depressed is the way the election processes have been taking place. I'll give you a summary. In Maharashtra, for the first time in the history of this country, today we have more voters registered in the voter roll than the number of people who are eligible to vote. That is people above the age of 18 as on a particular cutoff date. In a manner, in a space of just 5 months, 40 lakh new voters were added. There were large numbers of people who voted after 5 p.m. The same story happened in Andhra Pradesh. The recording people voting at 2 a.m. in the morning and 12 a.m. in the morning. Were people standing in queue for 6 hours, 8 hours. Wait, I'll go further. In Maharashtra, these 40 lakh new names, they were placed in 12,000 booths where the competition was close. I say this with a lot of responsibility. Out of 1 lakh booths in the whole state of Maharashtra, which is the second largest state in India in terms of Lok Sabha seats, this is what happened. What happened in Bihar? You are suddenly saying that because women were given this additional benefit in the run-up to the elections, that's why the National Democratic Alliance, led by Janata Dal United and the Bharatiya Janata Party, won. No, 65 lakhs were removed. That's the first SIR. Then that number came down to 45 because there was a lot of shouting, screaming. But whatever happened, 45 lakh names. The one point that I think needs emphasis. What happened in Bihar, what happened in Maharashtra was repeated in Bengal. And this is where I have a nuanced view. And that is that election processes, election systems have never been so opaque, never been so non-transparent, so arbitrary as we are seeing it now. And I believe that is very bad for the future of democracy. I'm not saying this as a bleeding heart liberal sitting in comfort in the national capital region. I think this affects every single citizen. It doesn't matter. We have a right to vote. And if that right to vote is taken away and compromised, then I think it's terrible. But let's see what happens in the coming days. Let's see how the opposition reacts. Will they really work towards a situation where you say, we have no other way out, we boycott the elections unless you do A, B, C, D. And as soon as you say paper ballots, they say, no, you don't believe in our electronic voting machines. You don't believe in our VVPATs, the voter verifiable paper audit trails. You want to take us back in time. But there's so much evidence to show how the election processes are non-transparent. That is, from the way the batteries which connect the electronic voting machines to the voter verifiable paper audit trails to the control units. Why in certain places have high charge and low charge? Under what circumstances are EVM machines replaced or not? And that's one part of the story. The way the voter rolls are put together. All of these make me depressed about the future of democracy. But 1 minute, I am not entirely pessimistic. I think the people of this country, they realize what is going on. They're not fools. They may be poor. She may be uneducated. She may be illiterate. She may be poor. But she knows what is going on. And therefore, I think Bengal, what has happened in Bengal, will have a bearing on the future of electoral democracy in this country. And being an eternal optimist, I'm hopeful that things will improve.
Yeah. Now, I have the last question. I'm going to end this discussion. What I see is that actually what Zarda has said and what you have said, I actually do not see mass of contradiction in that. So thing is that you see there is you see misrule, there is absence of governance in Bengal. That's one side. But as you have said, that the kind of actually uh, things the election commission has done, and they have been doing it. I have seen it particularly from 2024, since the parliamentary election 2024. And since 2024, I have seen an aggression on the part of the EC and the central government. And they are hardly losing any state government election after 2024. 2024 was a setback for them. Now, so there is absolutely no doubt about the amount of, you see, atrocious things done by the EC. And that Jwarda has also said that how, and you said it at the beginning, that how the court can say like this, that okay, if you are not able to vote this time, maybe you come, next time you'll be able to vote. So we have seen how injustice is being done to the people. Now, my ending question to both of you. First, I would like to hear from Jahada briefly. Now, from here, where do you go from here? Jahada. Jahada, could you hear me? Hello?
Yeah.
Could you hear me? So I am saying
Hello.
from
Is it
here.
okay?
Yeah. Okay. Where do you go from here now?
There's a little disturbance. Okay.
Where do you go from
You
here?
see, the
We are
opposition
ending the
has
discussion. Yeah.
The opposition has to realize that they are up against a diabolical machine. So far, they have been against, let us say, one foot soldier army fighting another foot soldier army. Now you have foot soldier armies of the opposition fighting against a diabolically driven, AI driven, computer driven, money driven machine. Okay. Hello.
Yes.
So that they have to realize that it's not a normal fight anymore. It's a fight with drones. It's a fight with what shall I say, electronically monitored, satellite guided missiles. And we are still fighting on the ground like foot soldiers, like pikes. You understand? So the terms of the battle have to change. The way we look at elections has to change. And the system of objecting at every level or walking out, as I keep saying, or walking out. There is no harm if Trinamool Congress decides not to participate in this assembly. I'm telling you. We have had the CPIM not participating in one entire assembly session of 5 years. There are parties that the BNP did not participate in the Awami League elections last time. It boycotted it. Many parties boycotted it, only to be rewarded within 2 years. So if they feel that they have reached that stage, they should not join the assembly. Let it be a free for all for them. You have to protest at some stage. You cannot protest on paper and expect to win. So the fight has to intensify into such level that people keep asking, what then really went wrong? Maybe she's saying the correct thing. Instead of calling her a bad loser, they will now get into the electoral systems to understand what went wrong. You have to take what is called a shock therapy. You have to understand the electronics of electoral warfare.
That's
my submission.
Very good. Because you say that yes, you need a shock therapy now to take this challenge. It's very rightly said, I think. Yes, the normal things have actually all become irrelevant. So you need a shock therapy. Now, Paranjoy, what would you like to say?
I'll say in conclusion, in a few minutes, I agree with what Jawhar Sircar has said. He's my senior by 5 years. I may or may not agree with him, but I agree with him that what the opposition, political opposition in India is up against, I'm using his language, diabolical, money driven machine fueled by modern technology, artificial intelligence, drones, etc., etc., etc. I think the first thing we have to do is the INDIA alliance has to get its act together. You knew there would be contradictions. You knew in Bengal the Trinamool and the Congress wouldn't come together. The Trinamool came out of the Congress. You knew in Delhi the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party would not come together. And now it's going to happen in Punjab. So you knew these contradictions. But what is it? What is your bigger goal? If you have to put up a credible opposition to the Bharatiya Janata Party and the National Democratic Alliance, you have to work out the terms and conditions under which you're going to do this. I want to make one point, and this is something that you made. 2024 Uttar Pradesh is one of the reasons why the Election Commission of India was weaponized. I think far from being 400 par, when you came down, the BJP's number on its own came down from 303 to 240, the BJP was shocked. The BJP was shocked because out of these 63 seats that were lost all India, 30 were from Uttar Pradesh, where out of 80 Lok Sabha seats, the BJP's number came down from 63 to 33. What shocked them was the loss in Faizabad, Ayodhya, where the Ram temple had been built. What shocked them was 6 union ministers, including Smriti Irani, Maneka Gandhi, Ajay Mishra Teni, who was Minister of State for Home Affairs. He was Amit Shah's right-hand man. It didn't matter that there was allegations against his son for allegedly running over farmers who were protesting. And finally, Narendra Modi's own victory margin came down from 4.8 lakhs in Varanasi to 1.5 lakhs. Rajnath Singh's victory margin came down by half. This shocked the BJP and the RSS. And this is where the beginning of the weaponization of the Election Commission of India, done first under Rajiv Kumar and now under Mr. Ganesh Kumar Gupta. Now, I can go on, but I want to say what are the new things. Remember how we knew that the bill, the Constitution Amendment Bill in Parliament that could not be passed by the government, that Mr. Narendra Modi would turn it. That look, the people of Tamil Nadu and the people of Bengal don't want 33% reservation for women. He managed to spin it. He successfully spun it. But there is another point that has to be remembered. What is now going to happen? You talked about the future. Can the INDA alliance, can the opposition parties come together on 2 points? One nation, one election. And 2, delimitation, redrawing of the constituencies. Will you have delimitation like you've had in Assam, where the assembly constituency of Kaziranga looks like a mala? Will it be done? How will it be done? In a transparent manner, in a proper manner? These are now the issues that should concern people who believe in the future of electoral democracy in this country. This is my concluding remark.
Thank you very much to both of you. Actually, this discussion was really revealing, and both of you made so many important points. And I hope my audience will watch this very carefully. And thank you very much, Jawhar, and thank you very much, Paranjoy. Thank you.